Let's bounce around then with what's going on at the top of the table, given the fact that we've just seen City take on Liverpool. Don't need to recap the game so much here, Janusz, but what's your biggest takeaway? What did we learn?
I still think that Manchester City are the best team in the league. I think in the first half, even though Liverpool had looks, and by the way, I mean, when Manchester City play against anybody, you're always there's an inherent risk the way they play. But you could see how much Liverpool struggle coming out of the back. Some of the Alisson mistakes, are on him, but the pressure. I mean, they had 10 players in Liverpool's half, and Liverpool really didn't know how to come out. Of course, they broke a couple of times. They had some looks, no questions about that, which is going to happen. We saw Manchester City against Chelsea that, at times that risk is not going to pay off. But a massive point for Liverpool, who, by the way, I think a lot of the key players didn't play well. They got something at a ground that they normally don't get, at least recently, don't get much out of. So it's massive, but it doesn't change anything for me in terms of what I think of Manchester City now that the international breaks are over, now that they're going to be able to rotate the way they rotate. I look at Pep Guardiola, who has a plan B, C, D, E, and F, at least in the back, even though he didn't go to his bench because he truly didn't trust it. There's a couple players, in a game like this that he doesn't trust yet. They haven't earned his trust, and I can understand that. But rest assured, when they get going, I think play like Kovacic or Nunez, they'll get going because the team is going to be playing so well that they'll fill in and they'll want to get their minutes and continue to play well. I don't even want to mention Kevin De Bruyne. So in all, you look at it, 2 draws for Manchester City and still absolutely zero worries on my part. It's going to be interesting. And yeah, I may be wrong for a few weeks, but I think ultimately, I think we know where this is going to end up.
Did it change anything title odds-wise, Dalen, this game?
Not really. I mean, City's still a prohibitive favorite, -160. So that means you have to bet $160 just to win 100 on your money, based on what the books think this team is going to do. Now, granted, earlier in the year they were at -135 before the season. One of the best bets I thought in Europe was them at -125. And to Janusz's point, nothing has changed for me, and that's unfortunate to say, as we know I'm on the show. I'm a Gunners supporter, and they are currently top of the table. But what we've seen from City in the past is the fact that they're able to, when they hit January, they can go on. They did it last year. You go on these runs where they're flawless in the hardest league in the world to not drop a point. They've done it before, and I think they're capable of doing it again. And as they get healthier, and to Janusz's point, the international breaks go away. I know December with the clutter of fixtures can be a little challenging, but as you get to January and February, and the cream usually rises to the top, and they are the cream of the league. And I do think at least this year they will be more competitive down the stretch. I like to believe that Liverpool will be in the mix. I obviously want to believe Arsenal is in the mix. When you look at the betting line for the team to finish second, essentially you can bet, without Man City, that's a bet. You're basically looking who's going to finish in second. Arsenal's currently -105, so that's almost even money. And Liverpool's +135, so you're getting a little value there. So the books think Arsenal is the team in pole position. And why I think that's accurate, and I don't just want to believe it as a fan, is the fact that Arsenal still hasn't played that well. They haven't really hit a groove, and if they ever do, I think they're capable of ripping off some victories. But obviously there's some key people on that team. If Saliba goes down like he did last year, that team and the defense has been very solid, is going to be very different. So I think there's a lot of questions to be asked. I do think Arsenal's still the second favorite to finish in that position, but it's going to be a 3-horse race to keep it at least entertaining and competitive down the stretch. Ultimately, though, I just don't think either one of those teams are capable of holding on to City at the same level.
So give me a quick second then, Dalen, just because you are the Arsenal super fan. What did you make of what we saw from Kai Havertz in this game? Very important moment for him.
It was huge, and I don't want to pile on and say finally, but it's just you want the young man to perform. It's just, I hope this helps him grow in confidence, because whether it was going back to, and I've mentioned this before, being at the United game in early September, there were times where he would get on the ball and you could see space in front, and he would continue to play lateral or backwards, and you're almost hearing the fans kind of push him forward, like want to believe in it. And then it starts to get negative as you get later into the game. And we've seen it in the course of the year as a lack of belief in himself. And I think it's reciprocal to the fans. So he comes on, and granted, I don't care how much money you paid for him, comes on as a sub, scores that goal, a huge goal in the 89th minute. I think that lets him breathe a little bit easier. Hopefully he can continue to grow and build himself into confidence. I think when you see him play, especially when he's younger and playing in Germany, he's a good footballer, period. He's a good player. And anybody you talk to that's been around training there, like, those guys know he's really good because they're watching in training. Can he manifest that when they actually matters in the matches within a 90 minutes, or if he even gets 30 minutes? is the question. But him scoring a goal was important. That win was huge. And we hope that he can continue to build and just be, growing through the course of the year. And maybe that pressure alleviates a little bit. But that was a huge goal, to say the least.
Janusz, your response on the Arsenal and Havertz talk.
Well, Havertz, let's be happy for him. That's about it. You know how players feel. So, we've had fun at his expense, so we got to give him credit. For Arsenal, it's kind of funny because you say they haven't played well. I almost think it's part of that process. I hate to sound like Arteta, but I kind of like what I saw because they are more predictable. Yes, some teams have figured out how to double down or double up on Saka and Martinelli, and Martinelli's suffering. Saka's still a very, very good player, but he's figuring out maybe Rice that he should be playing in a central role. Defensively, they're the best team. Offensively, they're still pretty good right now, and they kind of learning how to win games in a different way while not having the best players together at all times. I think that's important. The one thing that I would say about Arteta is that for me, he's created an unhealthy competition in the goalkeeping department, and he needs to fix that. Okay, I know he knows that Reyes is number one, but Ramsdale, I'm not even talking about mistakes, but that's part of that. I think there are a lot of players in that dressing room that probably quietly talking to themselves saying, maybe they are in Ramsdale's corner because they're saying, look what he's done for us last season. He's been absolutely outstanding. Maybe they feel that he doesn't deserve that treatment. And I've been part of those dressing rooms where I'd be saying, look what's going on. So I just think that he's got to quickly figure this out and fix that, because even though statistically, as I've said, defensively they're fine, as goalkeepers, I think many can point out towards what they've done, but I think inside the dressing room, that's something that may at times bubble up, and I don't think they need it. And they're top of the league, and by the way, deservedly, because I like the way they win games sometimes where they're not on the front foot.
Okay. Well, real quick, Janusz, I don't disagree with that. I think that's the positive. I think that's the belief that, like, hey, if these guys actually start to play and click in a way that we kind of expected. And the difference was last year is like, I don't think they can sustain this. There was like, could they ever sustain that level of play? And that was the question. This year, it's like, well, they have another level to get to.